Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that everyone is doing well. Let me start by saying to those that I've not had the opportunity to speak with in this new year, let me say Happy New Year to you and your families. I hope that everyone is doing well and continuing to be safe and healthy in this environment. And although we see that things are getting slightly better in some areas of our nation, we all will hopefully continue to do our part to keep ourselves and our families and our community safe so we can get through this pandemic, hopefully once and for all. But with that, I am pleased that you have joined us again today. This is yet another opportunity for us to talk and to share a couple of updates as we continue to position the authority to get ready and take on this important work over the next several years. Before we go into our agenda, let me have, if I can, all members of the authority introduce themselves. And if you are in a position to turn on your camera, I would ask that you do so that our audience can get familiar with names and faces. So on my screen, I'm just going to have Angela call folks out. We'll start with you, Senator Hayes, and then Angela, anyone else that you can see on the screen, please help me identify.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jenkins, and good afternoon, members of the Development Authority. Senator Antonio Hayes, representing the 40th Legislative District here in Baltimore City.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. Scott?
Yes, first of all, thank you, Angela, for getting us prepared for this meeting today. So I appreciate all your hard work getting us here. Good afternoon to all elected officials, Senator Hayes, and everyone else. Thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Todd Scott, Deputy Director at the Maryland State Department of Housing and Community Development. Again, Deputy Director of Business Lending and also Strategic Partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kate Sylvester?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Kate Sylvester. I'm the Deputy Administrator at Maryland Transit Administration. I'm responsible for the capital projects and programs and happy to represent on behalf of MTA. Thank you.
Thank you.
Theo Nganga? Mr. Ngongo?
Good afternoon, everyone. Theo Ngongo here. I'm the Deputy Director over at the Baltimore City, the Department of Transportation, and my portfolio includes policy, planning, and transit, and a few other things. I'm also the Mayor's Empire representative to the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board down in BMC. Happy to be here, happy to serve on this committee. Thank you.
Chad Hayes?
On mute. Oh, there we go. I was able to get myself off mute. Good afternoon. Chad Hayes. I'm the Western District Planner with the Baltimore City Department of Planning. Happy to be here.
Raven Thompson?
Raven Thompson, Baltimore Development Corporation.
Dr. Sherry Parks?
Hi, Sherry Parks, Vice President for Strategic Initiatives at Maryland Institute College of Art, MICA.
Kiefer Mitchell?
Good afternoon, Kiefer Mitchell, Office of Governor Hogan.
And I believe we have at least two designees here on behalf of Delegate Ampry, and then I believe one other, Mr. Elder, Thomas Elder.
Well, I'll start off first. I'm Ian Genovi, Office of Delegate Marlon Ampry. Good afternoon, Thomas Elder, Department of Legislative Services. I'm just a part of the audience today, so thank you for letting me sit in.
Thank you, Mr. Elder.
Minister Glenn Smith.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
I am the community representative on the West North Avenue Development Authority. I also am on the board with Coppin Heights Community Development Corporation, and I chair their steering committee. I'm also vice president of Baltimore Transit Equity Coalition.
Thank you. All right, is that everyone? Angela, we had an opportunity to introduce themselves.
Yes.
Great. All right, so as we call ourselves to order, our agenda for today is going to be short, but I think very impactful. I'm going to ask Mr. Todd Scott, who's a part of the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. I'm going to turn the presentation over to him. There is a discussion that Mr. Scott is going to have in a presentation he's going to present to the council. So at this point, Mr. Scott, I yield to you, and we will follow up with discussion once you have completed your presentation.
Great. Well, thank you, and thanks for having me here, and I appreciate this opportunity. I want to first start off by saying, as I go through a presentation, I'll discuss business lending at the State Department of Housing and Community Development. I'll also talk about the neighborhood revitalization programs that we have there. We have such an array of different programs. I'll also show a slide that will have all of the West North Avenue corridor funding that the state was involved in over the past 5 fiscal years. And then I'll end up showing the amount of money that was placed or in Baltimore from the Department of Housing and Community Development regarding all of our programs. I'll discuss that, how much funding over the last 5 fiscal years. But I want to first, I want to say this is very important too. We can talk about programs. We can talk about how much money is being put into these programs in these various areas. But what I want to do is take the initiative and also, as I discuss these programs, I want to make sure people understand the process. That's important, because we can talk about programs, but if only a certain few people can understand how to apply for the programs, we have a problem. So I want to be the point person for all the programs from the State of Maryland Department of Housing to make sure I can put you in the right place. And if you don't have, or someone doesn't have an understanding of how to apply, I'm going to make sure they're matched with someone that can guide them through the process. Technical assistance seems to always be an issue that sometimes we overlook, but it's very important that we make sure we match people up so they can be in position to apply for the funds. I want to start by saying that. So let me go to the first part of my presentation, which will be business lending. So put the first slide on. Okay, first slide. I'm going to share the screen quickly. Great. Let's see. Hit full screen at the bottom.
No, I need to be present.
One sec.
Right there, so slideshow.
Where?
Slide.
Yeah, go to the right, view, under view, view.
Under
Next
view?
one. Yep, the very first one. There you go. Nope.
There we go. This is called teamwork. Never panic. There's always someone on this call that will guide you through. Mr. Field, is that you?
It was me, yes, sir.
Thank you. I owe you one.
No worries.
To go to the next one, we'll just hit enter. Is that correct? That's correct. All right. Next slide. Perfect. See, that's what took place when if you watch any of the games over the weekend, you didn't see Mahomes or any of those, no one panicked. So I knew there was going to be someone on this call that would say, here's what we want to do. That's how you call the next play. We need more like you, Theo, in the front office of the Baltimore Ravens. Appreciate that.
No worries.
Todd Scott. Talk about the Neighborhood Business Works. This is near and dear to me. The Neighborhood Business Works lending program started in 1995 at Department of Housing. At that time, it was a very small amount of pocket of money that we could use. And at that time, when we used the funds, it was mainly used to be in a position of assisting other financial institutions with their projects. So we were a gap financing project or lender at that time at DHCD because we had a small amount of money. All right. And again, what it does, Department of Housing's Neighborhood Business Works lending program, it focuses on sustainable communities and priority funding areas. You'll hear that several times throughout this presentation, and we'll also have a map of the priority funding areas and sustainable communities. The lending volume grew from 5 million. We had so many projects coming into our pipeline up to $50 million. And it gave us the ability not only to be in gap financing, to work with other institutions, but also to be in first lien position and take on some larger projects. So some of our larger projects will go up to our maximum lending capacity per fiscal year, which is 5 million. The minimum per project is $100,000. And again, we talked about priority funding areas. Those are areas where existing communities and places of local governments where they want to see investment to support future growth. Very important that money goes into an area that can impact that area and also have other funding to support that particular project. And as you can see on this map, you have two different colors. You have the orange, which is sustainable communities. And then you have the tan color brown, which is priority funding areas. So it sprinkles throughout the entire state. Obviously, there are two cities, Baltimore City and also Prince George's County. Those are the two areas that have the most priority funding areas and sustainable communities. Eligible applicants, nonprofit organizations, commercial properties, developers, retail, manufacturers, mixed use. One project that we don't focus on and people come to me a lot is when they want to get lending for small residential properties, not a 1 or 2 property, but we don't do that. But we focus on projects that will have, for instance, if there is a mixed use project, a building or apartment building or affordable home ownership building or affordable housing building. And on that first level, there's a commercial element, we will work with that. But we have a lot of commercial projects throughout the entire state. Some of them are near and dear to me. I'll show you some pictures of some further in the presentation. I'll show you a picture of a nonprofit that we've done, a couple of other projects as well. So it's great for me because being at the Department of Housing, I had a chance to work in various departments, whether it was multifamily housing. I've also worked on some of the grant scoring projects for neighborhood revitalization, Neighborhood Business Works. So I see a lot of it. So when I drive around the city and the state, I can always look around and say, I know that particular project right there. We have funding and financing there, and I'd love to see that. And I want to see more of that, and we will do more of that. Okay. Again, eligible use of funds, real estate acquisition, new construction and renovation, property, equipment purchases, working capital, and guarantees, credit enhancements. Again, as stated earlier, up to $5 million per project. I always make sure people understand that we don't compete with banks. That there are several banks that we have, a lot of banks we have tremendous relationships with. When we talk about a deal where we can't finance the entire project, but we can also bring a bank in and say, look, take a look at this project. You might want to take a part of it and we'll take the other part. And then they're vice versa. We have relationships where they'll call us. We're working on several of them right now in our pipeline. One, as a matter of fact, that Senator Antonio Hayes referred over. So we're working on that where there's another bank involved. And we had a conference call just last week where the bank's on the line, the other bank's on the line. We're on the call. We're trying to make the deal work. So it's very important, very transparent. The bottom line is we want to continue seeing investments come into our state. It's very important. Definitely in Baltimore City as well. It's near and dear to me, born and raised in Baltimore, although on the east side, but don't hold that against me. But I love to see investments and money coming to our great city. Next slide. Since its inception, $131 million in projects, 700 projects, 14,000 jobs. So I want to say this too. When we're looking at neighborhood business works, it's the impact. And so that's what separates us from the banks, is that the bank is looking at the bottom line number. We're looking at what can it do? What impact can it make? 700 projects. What will that do? Because the project is not the project itself. It's all the surrounding, the intricacies and all the different things about it. It's how many people were employed. What did it do for that community? How many other projects came into that community because of this particular project that we funded? It's very important. This is a project that was one of our first big projects. If you're ever, and I want to share this, although it's not Baltimore City related, it's a Department of Housing related project that I like a lot because this is an example of our lending program, Neighborhood Business Works. If you're familiar with Hyattsville, that Route 1 corridor where maybe a couple of blocks up from this particular restaurant, there's a high school called DeMatha High School. Back when this loan was done, that entire corridor on Route 1 was vacant. There's nothing there. So this particular business owner had a vision. He wanted to buy and enhance and build out his restaurant. Couldn't get funding from any other institution. Came to the Department of Housing. We thought it'd be a good idea for several reasons. He had a really good business plan. And then on top of the business plan, we saw that if we build this, help him build this out, there would be opportunities for other businesses to come into that area. And they did. So we gave him funding. It's called Franklin's. By the way, if you've been in that area, they have, in my opinion, the best onion rings I've ever tasted here in the state of Maryland. Great onion rings. Michael Franklin received funding, and from there, that whole Route 1 corridor opened up. Later on, busboys and poets came there, other different businesses came there, and we ended up not just funding him, and he's a great person to speak to hear about what happened when he got the funds from us. But there's at least, there's several other businesses right there on that street that we funded because it protects our investment too. He opened up the foot traffic and everybody wanted to come and be a part of it. That's what it's all about. It's Neighborhood Business Works. What can the funds do to enhance an entire area that can make an impact in that area? And that's what it did. Next slide. Here's another project. This is in Baltimore City. You might be familiar with this. This is Ministry of Brewing in Baltimore. It's maybe two to three blocks south of Johns Hopkins. That's on the corner of Wolf and Baltimore Street. Anyway, this was an abandoned church that had been sitting vacant for some years. And as a developer, Ernst Valerie wanted to buy it and turn it into a brewery, believe it or not. Thought it was interesting, but the deal looked good. And then on the back side of that church there, he built some apartments there. So it's a fantastic, we thought it was different, but it's beautiful inside. That's doing really, really well. It's called Ministry of Brewing. Again, this was a church that had sat vacant for well over a decade. He had an idea. We gave him funding. The whole area, it's like maybe Upper Fells Point, Patterson Park, Butchers Hill area is where it's at. Place is packed because of what he had the vision to do. We funded him to do that. This was a great project here. This is a nonprofit. So we saw a restaurant, we saw another business. Now you're seeing a nonprofit, Lily Mae Carroll Jackson Charter School. This is a great story here. Lily Mae Carroll Jackson Charter School, they actually were sharing space with another school in the old Chicopin Middle School on Woodburn Avenue in the Alameda. They were growing and they needed more room. They purchased a building in the South Clifton Park, right in South Clifton Park. Purchased a building. There was nothing going on in that area. So they purchased it. We helped them get fundings to build it out. And it would give them the ability to increase their student population. So they did, thriving well. And now other investments and other developers are in that footprint. You see some demolition taking place on the old Getz Meat Factory up the street. You see Vibrancy now. They're pretty excited. They have their own building now. So this is what it's all about. It's the story. What can it do? The numbers got to make sense, but we also look at, what it will do. All right, so that's the Neighborhood Business Works program. I'm going to take you to the next some other programs that we have at the Department of Housing. This is the group at Neighborhood Business Works, Business Lending, Mike Holosky, the director, Colleen Cord Malone, program director, Aisha Taylor, Business Lending, and that's my name there at the bottom, Todd Scott. But I will wear several hats, not just with NBW, but also with all the different programs that the State Department of Housing has to offer. I will have my hands in it and do my part to make sure that people can get to it. So that's that. Thank you. I want to share my screen now, if I could, so you can come out of that. So you're done? This will stop. This will share this. Okay, good. Let's see if I can share my screen now. Can everybody see that? It's my first time doing it. I think I did it all right. Good.
Yes, we can see it. Looks good.
Yeah, good. I wanted to show this piece here because it's kind of hard to, I couldn't break it down any other way. But what you see here is that's West North Avenue. That's the corridor. And then in that legend, it has the program names. This is 5 fiscal years of how much funding has come into that corridor alone. Very interesting graphic. You have our Bernie funds, which I'll talk about, 58 awards, $8 million, our community legacy. And then it has the different programs actually that we put money into. It has the name of those projects. So you can see the investments, the projects that we put money into. Multifamily housing, Neighborhood Business Works, our loan program for single family purchases of houses, MMP, Maryland Mortgage Program. So I wanted to share that just so you'll be able to see this is some of the funds or some of the projects that we funded just in that corridor alone over the last 5 fiscal years. So it's a great graphic. And I'll share this with the president and with the group. Okay, I think that's that. Let's see how do we do this. Let's see. All right. So how this is the program here. Where did I go to? File. Can everyone see this?
Right in the middle is a slideshow. Up, keep going up, 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 up to the, yep. To the right now.
Where it says design.
Nope,
Yep.
when it says slideshow.
Yeah, slide, yeah, move that direction where it says animation,
And then the
Animation.
next one, slideshow.
There
See,
you
my wife left me. I think she's trying to get an extra dinner out of me. Instead of her doing this, she left me, but that's okay though. Slideshow.
And then from the beginning.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. Thank you. Teamwork. This is a great program here, Neighborhood Revitalization. If you haven't heard about it, you'll hear about it. And again, I want to share a story that's very important, because what I stated from the outset is not the programs. We can talk about the programs all day. It's getting people prepared to complete the documentation to apply for these funds. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. I sat down last year with a group in East Baltimore to make sure they had the assistance, because year after year they weren't applying. They applied, received some great awards. I took those awards. I mean, they got the funding. They were doing some fantastic work on Martin Luther King Jr. birthday this past week. I wanted to show the Department of Housing why it was important that we took the extra time to make sure they were in position to get the funds. Because they were doing some fantastic work, and you can see the money going to work immediately. That's what it's all about. It's the programs, but it's working together, providing, helping to make sure we have the assistance, technical assistance, to keep going through and showing how to apply for these funds. Our neighborhood revitalization program is, you might have heard about it. There's a lot, tremendous, fantastic things in Baltimore City. And as you can see, that's a before and after of a block, just of us putting funds in that particular block. Before and after. We have several different programs in our state revitalization program. It's part of our neighborhood revitalization group. We have our community legacy. We have community legacy. We have, and also again, sustainable communities is what we always talk about. This obviously in that whole corridor in the West Baltimore, West North Avenue corridor, there's a lot of areas that we want to have impact on. And Senator Hayes is very familiar with and had walked me through it. I think we had scheduled 1 hour one Saturday, and I swear I was there for about 3.5, 4 hours. He walked me all through West Baltimore. That's the kind of commitment we need, and that's what we need to have happen. And Senator Hayes, I haven't forgot about that. You owe me a couple of hours, but it was all worth it. I'll never forget that Saturday, and he just is so passionate about it. But he knows where the funds need to go. He's sold out for that area. He's sold out for the communities. He's sold out for this project. And when he calls me, you better believe I'm gonna be sold out right with him, because I really believe in it, and we need it in Baltimore. Sustainable communities. Again, I showed you on another graph the sustainable communities, and you can see in Baltimore, it's a lot of different zip codes that are part of make up the sustainable. And there's a mapper also that if you go to our DHCD website, put the address in, it will let you know if it's a sustainable community or not. If you have problems, you can get in contact with me. That's my goal, is to make sure I can make sure I connect you to the resources to get the answers. Community legacy. The purpose of community legacy, basically to make communities look better, development opportunities, and promote a community or sustainable community where communities are failing. We want to see them be sustained. Our Baltimore Regional Neighborhood Initiative, and you've probably heard the acronym BRNI. BRNI is a tremendous amount of awards come from BRNI. I believe just in, look at fiscal year 17 or 16 through 21, in 5 years, we've had a tremendous amount, 248 BRNI awards, $40 million of total funding just in Baltimore City. 248 awards, $40 million in Baltimore City of our Baltimore Regional Neighborhood Initiative. And you can see here eligible applicants, CDCs, community development corporations, must be implementing a clear revitalization strategy. Let me say this quickly too. And I like to have real transparent discussions with people. When you're ready, and you want to be ready and you want to be shovel ready. Two different things. You can say you're ready. Shovel ready means when I get this funding, I'll guarantee you I am going to put it to work. That's why it was important for me to sit down with that group in East Baltimore, and I live in East Baltimore too, but to sit down with them and go through that process, get the application in place. But to say they were shovel ready, like I said, this past weekend, Martin Luther King Day, they were working, doing some tremendous work. And I was able to take those pictures and take it back to the Department of Housing and show it. They were shovel ready. So when it comes for them to go back and get funding again for other projects, it won't be a problem because they're not sitting on a project, not being ready or holding on to the funds or not putting the funds to use. Shovel ready is the term I want to use over and over again. But the neighborhood plan, housing, economic development, transportation, natural resources, quality of life, community engagement. Funds can be used for Project Core. Obviously, we've done, Department of Housing has done a tremendous amount of Project Core strategic demolition. I believe the last notes that we saw for the last 5 fiscal years, we demolished over 4,400 units of vacant housing. That's a lot. It's a lot of funding. So 4,400 units, that's $53 million, believe it or not. So it's very costly to demolish, but it's needed. You don't have the population, and when it's time, we got to get rid of houses. And this is strictly Baltimore City, for Baltimore City, the funds that came in for this demolition. For eligible use of funds for another program called SEED for capital costs for construction, rehab, acquisition, architectural, engineering drawings, all your soft costs there. Projects must be in an area of blight to support the improvement of the neighborhood. SEED, another program. Project examples, I think I have a couple of them here. Yes, this is one Spruce Up program, Southeast Community Development at CDC. You can see what the award was, $175,000. What the impact was right here. This is 5400 Preak this way. Seed funding, capital grant, construction of a new facility that will house multiple partner agencies. Application process. This is different. MBW program is more ongoing. The Neighborhood Revitalization State Revitalization Program, the application comes out roughly around April or May. So it's a one-time, get the program, be ready for it. And if you have any questions regarding that, that's the information of where you would go and look on our website to see when that application process opens up. So the way it works, the application process opens up, but you want to be way prepared by then to ask all your questions, see who you can partner with, if possible, to get all your information, to be ready so you can get that application in, work with a CDC, get the application in, and then from there, the projects are being reviewed, and then they're scored, and the announcement comes out in the fall or the winter. Let's see, that's it. That's it, yep. Review process, how we score. And I usually try to, although I have my own position and do my own work at DHCD, I make sure when the time comes for scoring these projects, I get involved in that. So, one of the scoring teams. To my colleagues, Larry Brown and also Garland Thomas, both are assistant directors for that particular program, and I work well with them. And Carol Gilbert is she oversees that program there. And so, but again, if you're talking to me, you're talking to Garland, Larry, Carol, we're all in one we all do the same thing. It's we want to see more money flow through. And this particular project, West North Avenue Development Authority, I'm very excited to be a part of. So that's it for my presentation. I'll stop sharing and thank you again. And Theo, I owe you. Appreciate you.
Anytime. Thank you.
Sounds great. So listen, Mr. Scott, thank you very much. Very informative presentation. Let me open it up to see if there are any questions regarding any of the presentation that was shared or any comments. Let's take a few minutes to see if there are any.
I want to say thank you, Sherry Parks, for putting that information in the chat. You're right. Upton has been, I don't want to say a favorite, but Upton has it and does it right. That's our one communities association, the CDC, they have a tremendous working group, and they're doing some tremendous things. So yes, that was a pretty significant award there.
And Ms. Wanda Best is actually a guest here today.
Wanda Best is, my hat's off to Wanda Best. That team, they do it, and they do it well. But again, that's what it takes. We need to have more, honestly, I've said this before, more Wanda Bestes throughout the state. She gets it. But she has, it's a teamwork though. It's her, and I talked to my group over on the east side about, I mentioned her name a lot because of what she's doing. And when you do that and you have what it takes, and you have that assistance, technical assistance already in play, it makes it easier to keep going on and getting funding over and over again because you're moving your projects forward. She's making an impact, and that's fantastic.
Oh, I very much agree. I'm definitely a Wanda Best fan. I also do want to say, if you have not applied to DHCD before, I've done a lot of grants. I've never worked with a team that was that supportive in trying to help people through the process.
Thank you. Senator Hayes.
You're on mute, Senator Hayes. Can you get off mute? Aaron, can we step in? There we go.
No, I appreciate it. There was a little delay there. I got kicked out of, for some reason, I lost my ability to unmute. No, thank you, Todd, for the presentation. I echo the words that Dr. Park shared. And thank you, Dr. Jenkins, for inviting DHCD at the state level to give this presentation. There's a host of various funding opportunities that some communities are aware of and some may not be aware of. And with all of us and making determinations on how we move forward with the authority and things that we should include, we want to try to get this information out so it could afford other people. The West Baltimore did really well with the Seed Anchor Institution Fund, which I co-sponsored back in 2016. And, you know, we secured, there was a $10 million appropriation statewide. And I believe with the combination of Upton and Coppin and other things, we secured more than 20% of that $10 million. And so kudos to West Baltimore. We could do a lot more, but there's other resources that Todd talked about, like Community Legacy. Bernie was, back in the day under Speaker Bush, it used to be a slush fund that was only available to members of the House of Delegates. After the 2015 uprising, Speaker Bush came back in 2016 with a complete package to direct investment into Baltimore. And so out of that came Bernie, the extended library hours and other things. But hopefully those members here and those who may be watching have a fuller understanding of the different resources that are available at Maryland DHCD. So as we begin to plan for our comprehensive plan, we could begin to incorporate and plan for some of those things, and also help educate other organizations along the corridor that they exist and that they should also be applicants in future years. So thank you so much for the presentation today.
One more question, one more thing I'm going to mention, and thanks to Senator Hayes, I got to mention this one particular program that's near and dear to me. We talked about business lending. We talked about the different grant programs. But one thing that's near and dear to me, I want to see more affordable home ownership. We have a program called Maryland Mortgage Program that will assist down payment assistance and closing costs. We educate people to get into these houses and to be homeowners. It changes the landscape of the community and also changes the landscape of those families. The programs are there. And I'll close on that.
Thank you, Todd. Again, very important information. We do need to share or see how we can expand getting information out about the Maryland Mortgage Program. I think that will be significant in the ongoing discussions that we're having as we share that information. I think it could really be beneficial for so many people. Let me see if there are any additional questions for Mr. Scott or any other comments. Hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I have a
Dr.
quick
Parks?
question.
Mhm.
I do have a quick question. When you went over the list of entities that could apply, I was trying to see how the corridor authority would fit. Would it be an intermediary, or would the institutions and organizations who contribute to the corridor authority have to be the ones who apply?
I think this will be something that the authority, the West North Avenue Authority, has. I believe it's several CDCs already involved in this. Upton obviously is one, and it would be best once those organizations have a plan, is to connect with those CDCs. I like Wanda Bass and like John Dre Jennings over maybe at Truth Heights. So that way, because we don't want anyone trying to reinvent the wheel, trying to think. We want to be able to have them go to the ones that are already proven, who understands the process and can say, well, you might not be ready now. If you do these things, you can get ready. So we want to kind of understand the process, help them understand the process, but make sure they go to the right people to apply.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none. I'm going to ask Angela Galliano to step in and just share some quick information on the agenda about how to contact the West North Avenue Authority. Let me turn it over to you, Angela. We'll then wrap up with any additional questions, and then we will go into our executive session.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins.
Single day, people come through our doors.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. Anyone who would like to send questions, comments, or inquiries to any of the members of the West North Avenue Development Authority, please feel free to contact us at president@coppin.edu, and also our sister anchor institution, Maryland Institute College of Art, Dr. Sherry Parks. You can contact her at sparks01@mica.edu.
Thank you, Angela. Let me also add, let me ask this of you, Dr. Scott, if you would, Mr. Scott, I'm sorry, any concerns about us sharing your PowerPoint presentation? You had some contact information and some important links that were attached to your presentation. Would you be open and comfortable with us sharing that? Thank you. All right.
And
We will share the recording of today's meeting with all of the members, but also with the public in the president's newsletter that's released on Monday, January 31st. And we will also make available that PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you, Angela. All right, any additional questions before?
Dr. Jenkins, I got one.
Please.
This is Kiefer. I don't know how to work
Yes.
the hand
All right.
thing, so I apologize. Senator
No,
Hayes
you're
is a little
fine.
more technology advanced than I am. I just want to remind folks that the governor just submitted his budget last week with all of these programs in it, with this, some increased funding on it. And so now it's in the legislators' branch's hands. And I know that Senator Hayes will make sure to protect this funding as we go through this process, just to sort of like remind folks that the legislature can cut funding, they can fence off funding, that sort of thing. But I think it's important that these programs stay as is in place, and just have everybody keep an eye on it. And just give a shout out to Todd Scott and his team. They do a phenomenal job, not just in the city, but around the state. And a lot of folks really don't know a lot about these programs, but you know, it's a hidden gem in terms of what they do. And it was alluded to how the team really, unlike a traditional bank, they walk you through the process. They're there all the time to help you out, and they want to see you succeed, that sort of thing. So thanks again.
Thank you. And we appreciate those comments. And any other comments? If there are none, do I have a motion for us to move into executive closed session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you very much. At this point, we will adjourn our public section of our meeting, and we will go into executive session where we have two important items we want to provide updates on. All right.